I'm Jennifer and I'm with Rico, and I will be going over the MP301 with you guys today. Now, first of all, as you walk up to the machine, you're going to see the home screen, which is also called an app screen, and you can choose the function you want by touching it on the touch screen, or you can also use the hard keys on the side to choose the function. We're first going to cover the copier, and you'll press copier. Now, it does ask for a user code, and you'll enter in your user code. Okay, so we enter in our user code. The feeder on the top holds up to 50 originals, and you'll want to place them print side up. It has auto paper select, so it's automatically going to copy on the same size paper as your originals. You can view also your paper trays at the top of the screen. There's drawer 1 and a bypass tray. Drawer 1 is set for 8.5 by 11, and the bypass tray can hold up to 8.5 by 14. If you wish to use the bypass tray, you'll lift the green lever and load the paper in lengthwise, and then lower the lever. And as soon as you place the paper into the bypass tray, it will light up the second available tray automatically. If you touch it though, it will ask you what size paper, if you want to specify, and the thickness of the paper, but that's optional. You can just load the paper in and it'll know to copy onto it. Right below your paper trays, you can choose auto reduce enlarge or reduce enlarge. Auto reduce enlarge is just going to reduce a legal sheet down to 8.5 by 11 because that's the only paper size you have loaded. And then under reduce enlarge, you can choose to reduce or enlarge by the presets, or you can use a plus minus keys to raise or lower in 1% increments. In the very middle of the touch screen, you have your two-sided. There's one-sided to two-sided and two-sided to two-sided. It'll make your duplex copies. And the sort button is going to collate your pages. It doesn't have any way to offset on this particular device, but they will be in page order. And the last thing on the screen, down the left, you can lighten or darken, and you can also describe your original, which isn't necessary. It's defaulted to text, but if you have something that maybe is a picture, you can change the original type to photo or text in photo. And you can also specify the original size, but it reads that automatically as well. But if you have something that is maybe an odd size and you want to enter in the size, you can do that. Whenever you're using the glass to make copies, you want to place your paper up to the corner where the arrow is. And as long as the paper is a standard size, when you press start, it'll just make the copies. If you have a small item and you press start, it will beep because it can't detect the size of your original. And if you just press start one more time, it'll copy on letter. Your reset button clears all of the selections and returns it back to the default. Clear just clears the quantity, and stop will stop the copy job if you've made a mistake. On the panel here, we have an energy saver mode. It does go into energy saver periodically after usually about 15 minutes. But if you place paper in the feeder, or you lift the lid, or you just press the energy saver button, it will come back on and be ready to copy in less than 5 seconds. You will not be using the login, log out button. If you want to clear out your user code, you'll press the reset and the stop button at the same time. Is that working? No. They said it wasn't working. Sorry about that. Or it's going to time out. Okay, that, or you can press the home button and go back to copier and it'll ask you to put your code in again. So it's reset and either clear or stop. It was stopping the job. Or just hit the home. Home is probably easier to get your code out. Sorry about that. Okay, and you won't be accessing the user tools that's for changing settings. And the simple screen, if you press that, it'll give larger buttons, but if you're on the copy screen, you're going to see a lot less features. Oops. So if we hit simple screen here, all you can see are the paper trays. It's a toggle button, and a lot of times people will just accidentally bump it and want to get back to the regular screen. So you just press it again and it'll go back to the regular copy screen. Okay. Any questions on basic copying? Yes?
Is there a way to bypass the user code with copy mode? Do you have to enter the user code every time you go to make a copy?
That is what your school is, the college has set it for.
I just wondered if there's a way.
Okay. Then the next thing here is going to be scanning. Scanning, you'll be scanning to a folder. So we'll press home, and then on the touch screen you can press scanner, or you can press scanner from the hard keys. On this screen, we're just going to first select our destination, which is going to be scanned to a shared folder. So the folders are set up. You'll press search or select destination from address book and then choose the network scan folder. Press OK. And down the right side, you can change some of the settings for this. If it's just going to be a black and white PDF, then you can just press start and it will scan your originals through and send it to that folder. But chances are, since it's a shared folder, you're going to want to name the document so that you can find it in that shared folder. Now, under yes. So under send settings, well, right now we can see on the screen that it's set to black and white PDF. Under send settings, you can make those changes. So we can change it from black and white text to full color. You can adjust the resolution. You can change the file type, although most people prefer PDF, but you can change it to a single page TIFF JPEG, or a single page PDF, or a multi-page PDF. And that's under send settings. And then where you can name the document before you send it is under file name. You'll just press file name and then file name again, and you'll get a typewriter. You can enter the name of the document. And once you have all of that entered, just hit your OKs to exit out. Make sure your destination is selected. You'll see it in the top field. And then when you press start, it'll send it with that document name instead of the default name.
How is it getting the default location for this copier location, I have specified on the copier the default copier folder for that department. So for advising business technology, theirs is defaulted to their copier folder. Bookstore, same thing. Physical plan. Each one of their copiers.
So the physical location goes then into this directory. Okay.
Yes, if you find that you scan something and it doesn't show up, it may be that it was missed and you can change that.
Any other questions on scanning?
I have a question.
Huh?
So, because I'm sorry, I'm out of the loop here, but, so you scan it and then what, you can go to your
Computer.
computer in
And
your
you
office
go
and
to your-
find the file?
Yeah,
the
go to
file?
my computer and
Okay.
then pull up the shared folder
And
on
that
whatever
works
drive.
for both Mac and PC?
I'm not sure what they have set up
Yes.
for Mac, okay.
It goes to the group share, and Mac and PC both have access to that.
Okay.
Cool.
I don't know if every department uses it the same way, but it should be set up that way.
Okay.
Can you make the scanning password protected, that only you can open this file?
There is a way, I believe, to encrypt it or password protect it.
Under,
Installed ours, he said yes.
Keep going down.
one more.
Okay.
No,
I've had this question before. We've had scanning functionality for the Canon scanner beforehand or Canon copies beforehand. What I tell people is just as soon as you scan, go back to your computer and move it to where it needs to go. Because that folder is open to the department, so people may not be able to read it, but they can still delete it. They can move it to their computer and do whatever they want to with it. So as soon as you scan it, the suggestion is go back to your computer and move it to where you need it to go, whether it's your local computer or to a more restricted folder that you have access to.
and you can also scan to a thumb drive. So that's more personal because you can carry it right back with you. And I'll be going over that in just a moment, okay? You have a question?
Yeah, so if you go to scan something and so you hit the scanner button, but then none of the touchscreen buttons work, does that mean that you don't have scanning enabled on your individual device, or is something wrong with it?
We have one additional unit that's like that. I've talked to technicians and I think they're going to look into it. You know, 301 is the same one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one back by my desk.
PC.
The one in University of Technology acts the exact same way. You cannot click any of the buttons.
That's PC, is that what we get into?
The one up front works fine.
Yes. And I've had 301s just like this one that function the way they should, and some 301s that do what you're referring to.
That's his 301, isn't it?
What I would suggest too is either contact Rico support, but since they're here working on it, you can also put in a ticket on this poster as well.
Okay.
Make sure that they know.
Okay. One second here.
If I don't select a folder, would it automatically just go to the default scan folder? The Mochi didn't have now any folder selected.
It won't do anything.
It will do not anything if I now set.
You have to select a folder.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing then would be to scan to your thumb drive or an SD card, and that's on the right side of the panel here. And you'll just plug in your thumb drive and then go to Send Settings, and you'll want to possibly name your document under File Name. You can choose black and white or color up here, and you'll scroll down until you see the box that says Store File, and you'll select that, and then it says Store to Memory Device, and you'll press OK, OK again, and right now it's indicating that it's not detecting anything because I don't actually have a thumb drive in it, but all you have to do at that point, after you go through your OKs, is press start, and it will scan it as a PDF in color, black and white, depending on what you've selected, to your thumb drive.
If an existing file already exists with the same name, either on the network share or the thumb drive, will it warn us or just override?
I believe it will override.
Without any notification?
If you leave it alone, it's a generic random number that should not.
Oh, okay. Only if you really select the own name, the specific names, then it might just override. Okay.
So any questions on storing to
So
thumb
it
drive?
just names it 1, 2, 3.
It's
4.
generic, usually with like the date, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so that concludes scanning. And next is going to be faxing. Can you scan to that email? No, the university only wants scan to folder. So it's not set up to scan to email. Sorry. On faxing, again, you can select faxing from the touch screen or the hard keys on the panel. To send a fax, all you need to do is dial the number from this screen. So you'll start dialing. I'm just making something up. You'll have your originals in the feeder. Once you start dialing, you don't want to pull your originals back out of the feeder again, or it will clear out what you've already started to enter. So once you place your originals and you start dialing, don't take them out again. And once you've dialed the number, you'll press OK, and then all you have to do is press start, and it will scan through your originals. And at the very bottom of the screen in the black margin, it's going to tell you what's going on. It will say that it's dialing. It will tell you what number it's sending it to. It will tell you once it's connected, it's going to light up and say that it's communicating. And once the fax has gone through, it will print out a confirmation that says OK or negative and give a reduced image of the first page. Okay. On this particular device, if there's fax numbers that you use on a regular basis, they can be stored in an address book. You can dial the number, and then there's a button that says Program to Address Book. So once you start dialing, just touch Program to Address Book. And then at this point, you're going to press Exit, and then go to Names, and Name, and you'll type in a name for this, and press OK. And then it automatically names the key display. The key is what's going to show up in the address book. So you'll just touch that key, and it'll pull up the fax number that you want. So once that's set, you just can exit out of there and hit OK, and OK. Oops, did it? And once I now hit Select Destination from Address Book, my shortcut button appears, and I can just touch that and hit OK, and then it generates the number, and I'll just press Start and send that way. Okay, then just an FYI, it's probably going to be set to print a confirmation unless the university turns that off to save paper. I'm not sure if they're doing that. But as a default, all the devices are set to print out confirmation reports. They're also running logs here. Under TX file status, if you push that button, it will give you a log of everything that has been sent. And if you press RX file status, it will show a log of everything that's been received. If for some reason you need to cancel a fax, Under communication status print in the top right, if you press that, you can press a button that says check stop transmission file, and it will show you whatever it's trying to fax at that time. Since it's not actually faxing, there's not going to be anything here. But if I wanted to check the status, like maybe the line was busy, it'll tell you that it's waiting. Or if I realize that I entered the wrong number and I don't want to wait till it tries 2 more times, I can highlight it, and there'll be a button that says stop transmission file, and you'll press that, and then it will say, are you sure you want to cancel this? And you say yes, and then it will be stopped. Okay? So on faxing, you can just dial the number, you can use the address book to store numbers, you can view the logs, and you can cancel your faxes or check the status of them on the screen. Any questions on that? Okay. Now, on your app screen, they did make a custom shortcut. So the color scan, if you touch that on this particular machine, and I'm not sure if they put it on all of them, but the color scan button just has the color selected already so that you can just place your originals in the feeder. You'll still have to probably go in and name the document, but color's already selected. So it's a little bit faster, but again, you still have to go into send settings to name it anyway. So you can customize the home screen a little bit with some shortcuts. Okay, any questions on that? That's what the color scan button was, okay. The next thing here is going through some of the jams. I will talk about printing in just a moment as well. But I'm gonna do the printing last because I want to go back and forth from the device to the computer. Now, here, if it happens to jam, the light's gonna turn red, and if it's on like a regular copy mode, if it's jammed and the light's red, it's gonna show you a picture on the screen of where the jams are and what to do to clear the jams. In this case, it's not actually jammed, and if there was a paper jam, there would be a box here, and it'll show you a zoom in image of where the jam is, and it would automate the steps to take to clear it out. So if a jam occurs in the document feeder, this opens and you can remove the paper from the feeder. This does lift up a little bit too, so you can get your originals out. Then in the front here, well actually this is the side, but this will open. It's a little sticky there. Anything blue inside here you can touch, and there's a knob, but mostly you're just going to be looking for the paper on the side here, and you'll just reach in and remove the paper. This one just doesn't have a lot of places it could go. Oh, and this is helpful too. Where the square of dots is, if you push it closed right there, it almost always shuts properly. I didn't push it right the first time. And in the front is where you'll access the toner. This opens here. Trying to stay to the side. Okay, so that opens up, and to change the toner, you're going to lift the green handle, and then there's a release right here that you'll press in, and that releases this so that you can slide out the toner reservoir like a drawer. The bottle of toner, you'll push it back and tip it out. The new bottle looks just like this, but it will have a black cap on it. And you're gonna shake the bottle 5 or 6 times and then remove the cap only. You don't want to remove the plug, just the black cap. And then you'll take the bottle and put the back end in first, and then slide it forward, push it closed, and when it clicks, you can push the handle down. And there are directions on every bottle of toner as well. Your paper tray, depending on the model, this one will hold about a half a ream of paper, and you have to push it down and then place the paper in sections so that it goes under the roller. Make sure the stack is nice and neat, and then close that up. And you can see the paper levels on the screen. If you look at the top, it shows drawer 1, and it's showing that it's full right here. Okay. Any questions on toner and paper jams? Okay. We do have a website here, myrico.com, and depending on who's in the department, you would want to maybe assign a couple people, just not everybody, but 1 or 2 people to order toner. Your toner is included in your contract, so you don't want to be ordering from outside of RICO because it's free through RICO. If you order online, you'll need to register your machines at myrico.com, and you can order your supplies there, and you can also get service if the machine is broke down for some reason. Okay? And I have a stack over here if you're one of the people that might be registering your machine and pick up on the way out.
I was going to mention correctly, there's some of you who have had some problems ordering toner. I got an email that they're going to try to fix the website today so that you can add your department name. Hopefully that happens soon, rather than later.
All
All I
right.
know is my toner is headed to DPS, and hopefully DPS will get it to me.
Okay.
Okay, so now I also wanted to talk to you a bit about printing. The printer button on the screen here will allow you to view any print errors, and it also will allow you to access locked print if you need to print securely. Now, if an error occurs between the choices you've made at your computer and what's actually available at the device, the light's going to come on, and if you press the printer button, it will tell you what the problem is. Usually a red light on there is going to indicate a problem with the mismatched paper. So it'll say load the correct paper in the paper tray, and if you do that and just shut the drawer, it will automatically start printing again. But if you need to, you can press the printer button, and you can press job reset, and that will cancel the current print job, and you can resend it. So let's see one thing here real quick. Okay, the other thing that you'll access from the printer button would be locked print jobs. And I wanted to show you how to send a locked print job, and also how to enter your code in at your computer when you're sending a print job, your user codes. So the user code is completely different than the locked print code. The locked print code will release just that job that you've selected, and your user code allows you access to the copier printer. So what I'm going to do, I've got okay, so I have a document, and I'm going to put this up here so that you can see. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, so I have a document, and I've chose to print, and I went into my printing preferences. Now, to print, you need to go into that valid access and put in your user code and hit OK. And then hit print. and that's going to allow your print to come out at the device. You're using that user code for copying and printing. Then say I want to send a print job, but I don't want just anybody to pick it up. It needs to be secure and only I want to be able to get it. So what I can do is from here, I can assign it a PIN code. So that option is called locked print, and I'm going to find that under preferences, and it's under job type. We choose that and change it to locked print, and then under details, we want to give it our name, and it doesn't have to be a username or anything. You can type in just your first name or last name, and then you'll assign it a code. I just put in 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, once I have done that, this information stays at my computer, so every time I choose locked print, I don't have to re-enter that information. Then when I click OK and I actually send the job, I will come up to the device and press the button that says printer, and then it defaults to job list. So I'll have to press print jobs, and I'm going to see a box here with my name on it. When I select that box, it will list the jobs, and unfortunately I can't show you that screen at this time, but you would select your name, it'll list your jobs, you'll touch the jobs that you want to print, and press print. And it will prompt you to put in the code that you gave it under the details for locked print. And then it will release the job at that point. So that is basically your secured printing. Okay. I'm not sure if under valid access that user code to access the printer copier is going to stay, but if you go into your start menu and then choose printers and devices and go into the preferences from there and enter that under valid access, that will keep that user code as your default user code, and you won't have to enter it every time. Okay. Any questions on that?
I have more of a general question.
Sure.
What happens if you got somebody scanning something, the fax goes at the same time, and somebody's trying to print and it's all at once? How does the machine handle all that?
It is set up in the user tools to prioritize certain things. So if they all come at the same time, it'll probably prioritize whoever's making copies. And then the prints will go next, and then the fax. But basically, if somebody's making copies, and say I've got 100 more copies to come out, but somebody's come up here, they're kind of done. There's a new job function that you can press to go to the next job. It'll prompt for the user code, and the next person can start scanning even though copies are still coming out. Okay, so anytime the feeder is clear, you can go on to the next process. Even copying, it will go into a reservation mode, and so it'll scan that job, and then as soon as the other job finishes, it'll start the next job.
Okay. Another question is, how durable is the touch screen?
Very.
Okay, good.
I have never seen a broken touch screen.
Okay. I know there's people in my department that really
Yeah.
like to.
They
thing
have
is-
their frustration on a touch screen?
The touch screen
So
is the touch screen is touch sensitive, not heat sensitive. So a lot of people they're used to using their phone, and so they're poking at it hard. I mean, especially when you're trying to type in like a name for a document you're scanning on the typewriter, it's small. But if you use the tip of your nail or even a stylus or a pen that's not actually ejected, you can type better that way. It is pressure sensitive, not heat sensitive. So styluses work great if you want to keep one near the device, or think of it that way. Okay, any other questions? Okay, we do have directions over here for scanning and printing from the thumb drive. Then we have also the MyRico and a quick reference guide to copying if you guys help yourself. Okay,
And all that's available online too?
yeah.
The information you have printed out?
Thank you.
I need to clarify something.
Okay, sorry.
She's using the specific driver.
Oh, I didn't know what driver you were using. I'm sorry.
So we're using the universal print driver for all the jobs.
Okay, thank you.
So if you go to preferences, for us, it's actually under detailed settings, job setup. That's where you do your
Put in
user code, not
But-
under valid access.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay, under detailed settings, job setup.
Yep,
But
so-
under preferences on the first screen, there's the normal type.
And-
You can change that to locked
Yeah,
print
right
there.
now, the 301 ship without hard drives. In order for locked print to be enabled, you have to have hard drives. They're coming back through and installing the hard drives in 301. So right now, the only option for the 301s is normal print. Once they get the hard drives put back in, we'll have locked print. And we are setting locked print by default. Locked print is going to be the way all these have been set up, except for the 301s. So just be aware that when the hard drives get installed, we'll come back through and set the default to be locked print.
Will all the 301s have hard drive?
They are going to come back through and install them, yes.
Okay, so once those come in, if we don't want it on locked print, we'll need to go in to those printing preferences and change that to normal print.
Yes, and if you want to set it to normal for yourself, by all means, you're more than welcome to do that. But I've had people that have said, I want it to be normal print, and I said, set it to locked print, try it out, because some of the benefit of locked print is you can print multiple jobs at once. So you can print 5 documents, come through, and release all 5 jobs at once. If you're concerned about the security of your document, you don't want it sitting on the copier, and you print, you're like, oh shoot, I got to make this phone call. Well, your document's not sitting on the copier. It won't actually print until you use your release code. We are telling everyone, when you set your password, make it the same as your user code, because it's one number you have to remember. Because all these users that we have, the more information they have, they get a little bit jumbled. So make your password and your user code the same. That way it's one number for copying, one number for printing. She mentioned that the copier timeout. In answer to that question, I've had the provost office who said, we don't want it. Well, we're pushing across campus. If you can live with it, we would recommend you leave it on. Right now, the timeout is set to 20 seconds. We can extend that up to 15 or 16 minutes. But right now, the timeout for a copy job is 20 seconds before you have to re-enter your user code. We can make it longer. Just contact. I can change it remotely. So just contact the support center and say, hey, I want our timeout to be 5 minutes, whatever it is.
Okay.
The other things that I notated is the home screen. We're locking the home screen. You can't change it. If there's something, if you want an icon added, call, we'll add an icon for you, but we're locking the home screen. We would, like I said, prefer you leave the user codes on, but if it's becoming a hassle and you're not liking the units because of the user code, we can turn it off. But like I said, we can make it longer, so you can do that. I think there's one other question that said we address later. Scan email. The university has said for a long time that because of sensitive data, because of the size of the attachments, we don't want it turned on. If you put, I think Advising Center actually tried email scanning and it does work, but we don't recommend it because the size of the attachments. She mentioned color scanning. Color scanning, if you want to set it up, you can. It's a larger file size. Right now, I think when you scan in black and white, it comes up to less than 100 kilobits maybe. It's fairly small. Once you do color, it increases that size quite a bit.
Usually as long as you keep the resolution down to like 300 tops on a color, and you're only doing a page or two, that's fine. But if you're doing a huge document, then the file size will be gigantic.
Yeah, and if you get above, I think it's 5 meg or something, the email system will deny it too. One thing I want to stress, if you don't, and we've had calls on this, if you do not enter a user code, what will happen is you will print, it will go to the unit will beep, it won't be there. You won't get a message saying that it's printed or that it was denied. There will be nothing saying wrong copier. You must enter a user code or you will not need your print job, and you will have no notice that it wasn't printed.
And that's every time? Or is it?
Not if you have it on normal print.
Still requires a user code.
No, that's the, under, what are you
Oh,
saying,
I'm
under
not
job
thinking-
setup, in order to access the machine, whether you're just coming up to make copies or not, you still have to enter in that user code. So he was saying, I actually showed you wrong, I said under valid access, you would put your user code in at the computer, but it's actually under job setup. You'll put your
Yes.
user code in,
Yes.
and you might want to go into the start menu and enter that in there, so it will become the default.
Right.
And you don't have to enter it every time.
Yeah,
The ones that I've set up,
I don't even tell them to go in when they're setting up their print job. I say go through devices and printers and set that as your default.
And is the access code, is that via department or individual?
Could be either.
They ship, when they come to your department, there's a universal code. Again, what I'm recommending to departments is make some accountability. Give each person in your department a specific user code for them. Because then you can now see who is your highest usage person, who or not scans, but who copies and prints. If you have one code for your entire department, you still come down to, I have 3,000 pages a month, I don't know who did what. If you have a code for each person, now you can come back and say, hey Bob, we're trying to save paper, and you copied 300 pages. Is there some way we can maybe do better on this? And you don't have to. I mean, if there's no accountability, you can still give a user code and just ignore that. But that user code, that one that she used is, I think everybody should have it. It's a default user code for each copier. So that one is valid on the machine that you have.
And we are talking about also having an afternoon session tomorrow for those people that need access to changing and setting up user codes.
It is a very simple process.
Yes.
The one thing that I was not aware of, and I think I heard through one of you guys, was when you set up your user codes, back them up. Because if the unit fails for some reason and the hard drive goes completely, you don't have to read those. So once you enter, make sure you back up your address book so you have that somewhere. So if the unit fails, you can re-import, you're good to go.
Did we find out how long logged print jobs are staying on the machine?
From the documentation, 3 days.
3 days.
How large is the hard drive itself that's in the machine?
I'm not sure what they're putting in there, so I can tell you.
So does a locked job go away after you print it?
Yes.
Yes.
Once it's printed.
Okay.
It's print and
Do you have
delete.
the capability to save it?
You,
Like, can you save it on there or not? And store that? See it on there or store it on there?
yeah, I mean, there's an option in the job types for storing, but not sure how they feel about storing.
Scan those instructions up there by there, that after you save it to your computer, please delete, because I don't want things saved and stored on there. So it just takes too much.
And down the road, if we ever do have the opportunity to be able to print in color,
Open up the other files.
do we have to get a whole new machine, or do those also, you can put color,
You'd have to get a different machine.
different machine?
Yes, I think there's maybe two or three total on campus that are color units. There's not right now.
What's the email for the little
Right here. Actually, that appears to be, a lock, or it's a notification of something that's locked, and that wouldn't be a locked print. I don't think that it's something you're utilizing, so. And I'm not sure, but maybe this. Yeah, they don't even tell you on the user guide here, so.